Hello, and welcome to Brace Yourself.Podcast. I'm Dre, and today's episode we're going to have a guest who's actually part of our team, and it's going to be about witnessing sibling abuse. And because of the subject matter, the following episode contains discussions about sibling abuse and related traumatic experiences. Listener discretion is advised, as some content may be distressing or triggering. This podcast is for informational and supportive purposes only. We are not mental health professionals, and the conversations shared here are based on personal experiences and opinions. If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse or emotional distress, please reach out for help. You can contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 800 799 7233. You are not alone. Healing and helping is available and on the way. With that, we hope that Quibo will be joining us quite soon here. Sorry about that. And she, like I said, she's part of our team, and she'll be discussing her issues with witnessing sibling abuse. Hello, Quipo. Welcome, honored guest. Can you hear me okay?
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me
I can hear you fine, yes.
okay?
I appreciate your time today and taking out time out of your day to discuss this sensitive subject. I know it's um, kind of difficult and all, but I wanted to start out by welcoming you to Brace Yourself. We know and we appreciate you also being part of our whole tech team as well, as you're included in that. Um, I want to start out kind of if you can feel comfortable telling us a little bit about your family background and like what it was growing up with your family dynamic.
Well, we had my mom, my dad, my brother, and my sister, and myself. And we always had a couple of dogs. Never any cats for some reason, but always big dogs. Every now and then there was a little one, but it was, yeah, that was pretty much, just us three kids. And my father didn't work for a long time, for probably since I was about 8 years old. He
Oh,
had stopped working and um, never got another job after that. And he pretty much just kind of hung around the house, throwing his weight around and bullying everyone, basically.
so your mom was like the money maker or
Uh huh.
family financial support.
Yeah, she was the breadwinner. She worked in the office for a while, and then at one point, because we were in Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
she started. Um, she became a blackjack dealer. That was my dad's idea for her to make more money. So she started out in a small, smoky, dark, tiny casino. Um, and what was actually funny was it had male strippers.
Oh, which is quite the opposite of what we're used to here in Vegas.
Yeah, it was called the Jolly Trolley,
Oh,
and it was on the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and I want to say Charleston, possibly Charleston or Sahara. I mean, it was like way off of what you would think of the strip as being.
oh,
It
okay.
was like in a little corner strip mall,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, it was a really small casino, and so she She was dealing blackjack while there were male stripping going on. So it was kind of funny. Yeah, I didn't think about it much back then, but
Yeah.
she never talked about it.
Which I guess is a good thing if you're a little kid and not really knowing what strippers were, probably.
I guess so, but I mean, I think looking back, it might have been a nice balance to hear about something like that since Vegas was always just like showgirls and, billboards with scantily clad women everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
The days were different back then here in Las Vegas compared to now, anyway. It's very commercialized
hmm
here. Um, so, um, with your dad being around, like you said, kind of throwing his weight around and stuff, and bullying you guys, how did that come about? Like, what kinds of abuse did you witness, or did you um can you kind of explain a little bit about that?
yeah, so it kind of started out with my brother, pretty much. From what I remember, there was a time when I was younger that my grandmother told me that when I was really young, I had told her that my dad was hitting my mom, but I don't remember that. But from what I do remember, it started out with my dad decided when my brother was about 5 years old that he was going to start training him in soccer, and the training was like heavy from the start. So it was like every morning, every afternoon. It was like that was his job, and he would even say that there was a point where my mom he had called us all in um, to the room. It was like late at night, and we had gotten out of he had to get us out of bed, and we all came in, and my mom was at the table crying, and he goes, "Tell them what you just told me," and she said, well, I was driving home from work and I just felt like driving off the freeway. And he goes, look at your kids. You would do that to them? And I'm just standing there looking at her. I mean, I must have been about, I don't know, 10 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just sitting there crying. And she goes, I just need help with the bills. I
Oh.
can't do this by myself. I just need help. And he said, well, who's going to train him in soccer? I need to be I need to be home so I can train him in soccer. And then it was like, okay, go to bed. So I mean, we were just brought out to guilt trip her,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
So that was what he considered his job.
So how was that transformed into abusing your brother?
Um, well, he just trained him so much, and then he started training him inside the house too. And if he didn't do something good enough, he would just start hitting him. It was constant yelling, constant hitting. Do it over and over again, over and over and over again. He would throw the ball at him. He would kick him, hit him, whatever. If he didn't do something good, and my brother ended up being like one of the best soccer players in town through this. He
Mm-hmm.
actually came to love soccer. I mean, he would have write ups in the paper. Like he was known, he was known across town as being like this really amazing soccer player. But it was because I mean he did train a lot,
Right.
you know. But I would have to hear him in the living room, with him kicking the ball, over and over and over again for hours, and um, he would take him off to the park, and they would just be gone, and I didn't know what was going on until one day. I didn't I didn't really think about what was going on at the park. I figured it was a public place, so maybe my brother was safe out there.
Mm-hmm.
But he came back one day and he's like, we can't go to Howard Wasden anymore. That was a school that had a big park in the backyard, and it was in the middle of this like really expensive housing area, and it was really nice. It was off of Rancho, kind of near Rancho and Alta,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was like kind of block away from. I think that the street was called Pinto Lane.
Oh,
I
okay.
think I'm not sure, but anyway, Howard Wasden was like right there, and there were houses that their backyard overlooked the park. So
Mm-hmm.
he had found this little section of the park that was away from everyone, that was like tucked into behind these houses, and that was where he would take him to train. And so he came home early this one day and he's like, we can't go back there anymore because some of the neighbors were yelling at him that they were going to call the police on him if he didn't stop. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So he was abusing him out there,
Mm-hmm.
out in the park too, which I found out later. So he had created these stakes that he would put in the ground, and he had a rubber mallet that he would bang him into the ground, and my brother would have to
Oh,
dribble the
maneuver
soccer
through.
ball around him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So I found out later that he would take that rubber mallet and throw it at my brother's head.
Oh.
And then my brother said that he got knocked unconscious one time.
And how old was your
Um,
brother at that time?
at that time, he must have been around 8 or 9.
Okay.
So that was, growing up, like our world revolved around soccer. Just everything was just soccer, and I was never allowed to go anywhere or do anything. So if I wanted to get out of the house, I would go with them to soccer practice when he would have like his with his team,
Mm-hmm.
and that way I would get to see other people.
Yeah.
So I'd take my Walkman at the time. I had cassette tapes, right? Just listen to my music and sit out at the park, and they'd be playing, and I would just be daydreaming.
Yeah. Wow, that must have been very scary, I think, to learn about that from your brother. Um, what do you feel like you carry? Do you feel like you carry any emotions like guilt or fear or resentment towards or helplessness at the time? Do you remember carrying those feelings, and do you still carry them to currently?
There's so much guilt, so much, because this was the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that they would do anything if I ever did call the police,
Mm-hmm.
because a family just 2 houses down had a group home. They would have foster kids there, and I would see the same kids get sent back home and then end up back again a few months later and get sent back home again, end up back again. And I was just like, my dad would kill us
Mm-hmm.
if we ever turned him in, he got us back again. So there was always that fear, in the back of my mind. And hold on a second. Sorry.
That's okay.
um, yeah, there was always that. I mean, he terrorized us. And he threatened to kill us all the time, because there would be times, it was few, but my mom would say, "Stop, or I'm going to call the police." I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that was like, I could count on one hand all the times that happened, but he would say, if I go to jail, it's going to be for more than child abuse. That was his favorite line.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew what the implication was, you know. So there was that fear of, I just was always afraid that they would if they came, he would make up a story and they'd be like, "Okay, bye." you know. So there was one time that he knocked my brother unconscious by throwing him on the floor and stomping on his head with his heel. And I was standing right there. I saw the whole thing. And he actually thought he killed him. And he picked him up and he took him in the pool. And this was in the middle of winter. It was freezing. But he was trying to wake him up with the cold water, you know.
Oh.
And so I had to call an ambulance. And to this day, I regret just not saying, yeah, my dad killed my brother. You know, I didn't think of it like I was in such a panic. I didn't think of telling them anything on the phone. Just send an ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my brother's, he's not conscious. And the ambulance came and my dad made up a story and he told them and then he glared at me like, don't you dare say anything. And my brother, you know, was coming around by that point. By the time they got there, he was awake, but still like dazed, not really saying anything. And he threw up, so he had a concussion. And the ambulance left, and I was just watching them drive away, just like, just run. Like, I was just telling myself, just run out the door and tell them. But I didn't. And so, you know, to this day, I carry this guilt with me.
And have you ever discussed it with your brother about how you feel about that particular time and space when that was going on at home?
I don't know. I don't remember if we talked about it. I mean, we did talk about his abuse, like in general terms.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, and then there were times that he told me like, yeah, he threw the mallet at me at the park, but you know, my brother's pretty. He wasn't really the type to talk about stuff anyway. So we didn't have a lot of conversations about that. Me and my sister did. Because we got really close because, you know, my mom was always working. So I was, you know, it was like she was the husband, I was the wife kind of thing. So I did I cooked, I cleaned, I took care of the kids. Like that was my job growing up. So my sister and I got really close. We're 7 years apart, and it was kind of like I raised her.
I see.
And I just tried to tell her, like, I remember telling her when she was really little, like, don't ever, do you see what's going on between our parents? Don't ever let a man do that to you, like, you know. And
that was quite insightful of you to be at such a young age and warn your sister about an adult relationship, like how it should not be.
Well, I remember when I came to the revelation that this was not the way it was supposed to be, and there were things that we could do about it, or at least that my mom could have done, was when my friend at school, her parents were getting a divorce. And I remember coming home and telling her, like, I must have been like 11 or something. I was like, hey, I just found out that there's this thing. It's called a divorce. You can leave him and we can go anywhere we want. You don't have to stay with him. Like, I was so happy, like, coming home to talk to her about that. And she just shut me down so fast. You know, she was just like, well, where am I supposed to go with 3 kids and 2 dogs? It's not that easy. That was her patent answer, you know. And we had many of those conversations from that time, you know, where I'd just be like, come on, please, I'm begging you. Like, after what happened with my brother, like, I went to her and I was like, he is going to kill one of us. Please, get us out of here. And when I was like around 16, she said, "If you leave, I'll leave."
Oh, that must have been that's a heavy, heavy weight.
I just lost so much respect for her when she told me that. I just remember like going, fine, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if that's what it's going to take, fine. So yeah, I ran away from home like about a year later, I would say.
And she ended up not leaving, or did she leave?
She didn't leave. Well, I found out that she had a long term plan for leaving,
Okay.
but her plan was to wait until my brother and I were graduated and out of the house, and it would only be my sister that she had to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So, um,
Looking back on all of this, do you think that it shaped your sense of what safety or trust or some sense of responsibility in your adult life? Do you think it affected the way you managed any relationships that you had, or like a love interest, things like that? Do you think it affected any of that?
oh yeah. I mean, I had abusive exes. My first boyfriend abused me. It took me a little while to get away from him too. There was a weird kind of like I couldn't leave. I wanted to, but I couldn't. It was just to this day I can't even explain it. And it took so much for me to get away from him. And he, was the classic abusive boyfriend and mentally abusive, emotionally abusive, psychological, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, and kept me like where he wanted me, put me down all the time, made me think I was ugly, I was stupid, and um, at one point he actually brought another girl in front of me, and I was just like, that was like right towards the end. I don't know if I broke up with him like right after that. I think it was like around that time. I was just like,
Yeah.
that's one thing I'm not going to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and then I had a verbally a boyfriend who he never hit me, but he would yell at me for hours
Mm-hmm.
about whatever it was he was mad about, and um, it took me a little while to leave him just to realize like, I am too good for this because my dad made me think all those things about me
Mm-hmm.
too, so
So it kind of mirrored, like you, it kind of mirrored what the relationship you had with your father, because we sometimes learn that relationships ought to be as how we're taught, and we usually see that from a young age from our parents and how they run their marriage. It sometimes instills in us subconsciously, I believe, that that's the way it's supposed to be because you don't know any other way because you're growing up in that abusive home. You think that's just the way it is until, like you said, you found out about this divorce thing. There's something they call divorce, and you suggested that to your mom. Um, and I think that that's what a lot of people, a lot of kids growing up, young adults, that they see the dynamic between their parents and they go on into a pattern and follow that in a partner.
yeah. I mean, I think I think it's a subconscious thing. Honestly, I don't remember like setting out to find someone like my dad. I
Right.
never thought about it. I just went with who I was attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think subconsciously I saw something in that person. But those guys don't show their true colors right at the get go, because then you're going to be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they wait until you're deep into the relationship before they start with the abuse. And, so I mean, it took me a couple of bad ones before. I remember one guy who I was with him, everything was fine, and then one night he got drunk and um, threw my keys at my face and cut my
Mm-hmm.
face like right here, and I was like,
You're
I
out.
was like,
Yeah.
I left. I literally I don't know if I called my friend, but I was gone,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, that was it, and then he sobered up and was sorry and everything, and it was like,
Yeah.
nope. So that was the last one. And after that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
there were no more abusers per se, but,
Right.
maybe guys that just weren't good
Maybe.
enough or
Yeah.
something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like a codependent type of relationships too. Do you think?
Um, yeah, there was one of those for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and then another one who I think he was more emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
I would say emotionally abusive, just cut off, emotionally, distant, and um,
It's like
but that
you.
only lasted for a few months.
It seems like you went from like one side of the bar to the other side of abuse. Like it was more present and harsh and in your face to almost nothing, feeling nothing in the relationships.
Yeah, and that's, I saw my brother kind of go through that too. He had
Mm.
a girlfriend who was so abusive. She would yell at him for hours. And I remember she had gone to a wedding. And see, he didn't want to have kids because he was afraid of turning into his father, which I commend him. Like, I have so much respect for him for that. Because we did find out later that um, our grandfather did the same thing to my dad that he did to my brother. Only
Mm.
he trained him in swimming back in
Okay.
Hawaii, and he would make him swim really far when he was from a young age, and you know turned my dad into this amazing swimmer. But like,
But at what
so he
cost? Yeah.
right, and but we didn't know that until pretty much his memorial, my dad's memorial, when his sister came, and she said that they came to visit one year when we were younger, and they saw that he was training my brother, and they said, why are you doing that? But see, no one told us this. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't hear this. I had no idea that my grandfather trained my dad the way he trained my brother. You
Yeah.
know, I know. I found out later that it's an actual thing. That abuse through sports training is a real thing. You know,
Right.
which is crazy to even think about. But I mean, I saw it happen, and so it's not isolated. Like, there are parents out there who abuse their kids through training for sports. Um, yeah, but going back to the girlfriend thing, yeah, he was with her for a long time, like 15 years.
Oh, okay.
And she was just so mad that, they couldn't get married, they couldn't have kids. And she had come back from her cousin's wedding or something. And I remember hearing her say, I want a $5,000 rock on my finger. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, she was horrible.
Yeah.
She was so horrible. And yeah.
So, I mean, with all of this that you've experienced and you've seen your brother transform from childhood to adulthood and the issues that he had and the impact that the abuse had on you, um, what what do you think forgiveness looks like for you? Does that play a role, or have you explored that idea at all
Forgiveness for my
towards
father.
towards your father? Yeah.
Well, it happened with his suicide.
Mm.
I literally forgave him in a second.
I'm so sorry that that happened.
We weren't talking at the time. We hadn't spoken for like 13 years. And because, after I ran away from home, um, I didn't see him for a little while. And then I was, I had moved to California and then come back. And I was dating a guy who actually had played soccer with my brother when we were younger.
Mm.
So he knew my family. He knew my dad, very well. And so me and him, but he was grown. Like he looked a lot different from when he was 12. You know what I'm saying? And we were at like the Gold Coast or something. We were just like at some quarter machines,
Mm-hmm.
just like playing video poker. And this woman came and sat down next to me, and she's like, "Are you Hawaiian?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "So's my husband." And I said, "Oh, really? What's his name?" Because there weren't that many Hawaiians, so you just kind of figured you knew you're gonna know them or
Or
be
be
related to
related.
them.
Yeah.
And um, yeah, so she said his name, and I literally was just like, I started shaking, and I looked at my ex, and he went because we
Don't
didn't know
it.
he got married.
Oh, so it was your father?
Yeah, and so he shows up between me and her. All of a sudden, he goes, "Shh, don't say anything." And she goes, "Do you know each other?" And he goes, "This is my sister."
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like,
What?
I almost started crying. I mean, first of all, just seeing him
Right.
was a shock, just because he was always so scary. And and then he introduces me to his new wife as his sister, and she goes, and she says my name. She knows all about me already, and I'm just like, oh, it's so nice to finally meet you. So that was a whole other thing, and I later on I had gone over to his place. I was so mad, and I was just like, if you don't tell her the truth, I will, and not thinking of the implications from that, how much that was going to hurt her. And I just I just figured she needed to know the truth. But I didn't know that she was sober,
Mm.
and that their marriage was like this big wonderful thing in her life, because my dad had totally turned his life around. He was working, he was taking care of her and her son, and he was just turned into the guy that he should have been that whole time, you know.
Right.
And I didn't know any of that yet. You know what I mean? I just figured, oh, he went off and got another family, and oh, and then now he's just pretending. I was like, I know you're ashamed of being my father, but really, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, that's how I took it. And of course, she went fell off the wagon after I made him tell her the truth. She thought they were trying to have kids. He had gotten a vasectomy. Like, there were many lies going on there. He reinvented himself completely.
Wow.
Completely, you know. And
So,
so
so
I felt bad
yeah,
about that.
it seems like we have so much to explore with you. I would love to have you back to maybe explore if you'd like to come back, and because it seems like your message has so much, well, one, it seems like there's a lot of healing to do, and I don't want to run out of time with you, but our time is running a little short. I really appreciate your time and your efforts and answering these difficult questions and going back through the memories. But I would love to have you back again so we can discuss it further and maybe find other coping skills that you could share, um, for people who have gone through the same situation. It is rather complex, and but I really do appreciate your time today and what you've shared with us today. And I want you to try happy for today, moment by moment. I know that you do a lot in your life, and there's a lot going on. And like I said, I appreciate you, and we really appreciate you coming on to Brace Yourself.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and I would love to come back again if
All right.
if you'll have me.
Definitely, definitely will. Thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Well, we'd like to thank Quipo again for sharing her story. Hopefully, we'll have her available again. I do want to remind you of this book, The Wisdom Mentality by Daniel. He's one of our tech guys, or actually, he is our tech guy. He will eventually join us at one point in time for to be a guest, and we're so happy that you were able to attend this meeting. And if you have any questions, please comment on the comment section below. Um, I want you to always try to remember that you do have a light that can shine on others, and you do also have a way to communicate and learn coping skills with whatever life challenges brings to you. And we hope to see you next time. And this is Dre, and that is a wrap.